The fridge myth. Why keeping these 10 foods cold might be costing you more than freshness. There's something deeply comforting about opening the refrigerator door and seeing shelves lined with neatly stacked containers, crisp produce, and bottles of condiments standing at attention like soldiers. It feels organized, safe, responsible. After all, isn't that what we've been taught since childhood? That the fridge is where food goes to stay fresh, safe, and ready for us whenever we need it? But what if I told you that some of the most beloved foods in your kitchen, foods you've probably been chilling for years, are actually better off staying far away from the cold embrace of your refrigerator? Let's talk about potatoes. Yes, humble spuds, the backbone of comfort meals across generations. Mashed, roasted, fried, baked, however you take them, they're a staple in nearly every home. But here's the truth. Putting potatoes in the fridge might seem smart, but science says otherwise. When potatoes are exposed to cold temperatures, their natural starches begin converting into sugars at an accelerated rate. That means when you pull out your potato for dinner, instead of getting that earthy, hearty texture you love, you might be biting into something oddly sweet and gritty. Not exactly the flavor profile you're going for in your Sunday roast. And there's more. When those sugary potatoes hit high heat, say, during frying or roasting, they can produce a compound called acrylamide, which has been linked to cancer in animal studies. Now, no one's saying a plate of fries is dangerous, but it's a gentle reminder that how we store our food matters more than we think. Plus, refrigerators are humid places. And potatoes? They hate humidity. Moisture encourages sprouting, mold, and spoilage. So while you thought you were preserving them, you might have been speeding up their decay. So where do they belong? A cool, dark, dry space, like a pantry, cellar, or even a basket tucked under the sink. No plastic bags allowed. Let them breathe. And keep them away from onions. Those aromatic bulbs release gases that make potatoes go bad faster. It's a silent feud between two kitchen legends. Now let's talk about tomatoes. Tomatoes. Whether sliced for sandwiches, tossed into salads, or crushed into sauces, these juicy gems bring life to any dish. But did you know that storing them in the fridge can steal their soul? Tomatoes are delicate creatures. Their flavor comes from a symphony of natural compounds working together, and cold air disrupts that harmony. Place a tomato in the fridge, and you're essentially silencing its ripening process. What you get is a fruit that looks fine but tastes off. Mealy, lifeless, like a memory that's faded over time. Lycopene, the powerful antioxidant responsible for tomatoes' vibrant red color and heart-healthy benefits, also takes a hit in the cold. As we age, our bodies rely more heavily on nutrient-dense foods, and lycopene plays a key role in supporting cardiovascular health and possibly reducing cancer risk. So why sabotage nature's gift? Instead, let tomatoes sit on your counter, stems down. This simple trick slows moisture loss and keeps them fresh longer. Only when fully ripe and you can't eat them right away should they briefly see the inside of your fridge, and even then, bring them back to room temperature before eating to restore some of that lost magic. These stories of potatoes and tomatoes, onions and avocados, are more than just food facts. They're lessons passed down through kitchens and generations. They're reminders that food isn't just fuel. It's memory, tradition, care, and connection. Because here's the thing. The way we store our food affects not only its taste and nutrition, but also how we experience it. Especially as we grow older, our senses change. Our digestion becomes more sensitive. We start paying closer attention to what we eat, not just because of health concerns, but because we want to savor every bite. We want our garlic to still pack that bold punch, our bread to stay soft and fragrant, our honey to flow like liquid gold, our olive oil to carry the warmth of the Mediterranean sun. And yet, somewhere along the way, we started trusting convenience over instinct. Refrigeration became the default solution. We stopped listening to the quiet wisdom of our grandmothers who knew that onions don't belong next to potatoes, that bananas shouldn't be rushed into cold storage, and that bread is best kept in a wooden box rather than a sealed plastic bag. This article is a return to that kind of knowing, a journey back to mindful food storage, guided by science, seasoned with tradition, and wrapped in the warmth of shared experience. Over the next few thousand words, we'll explore 10 everyday foods that truly deserve a better home than your refrigerator, from creamy avocados to golden honey. Each carries not just flavor and nutrition, but history, culture, and care. And maybe, just maybe, this is more than a list of storage tips. Maybe it's a gentle invitation to slow down, to notice the small things, to treat even the simplest items, like a loaf of bread or a bulb of garlic, with the same respect we'd give to something far more delicate. Because food is more than what's on your plate. It's the smell of Sunday breakfast, the sound of sizzling garlic in the pan, the warmth of sharing a meal with someone you love. It's the recipe you remember your mother making, the way your father stirred his soup when he was feeling under the weather. It's comfort, it's connection, it's life. So before you toss that onion into the fridge or pop that tomato in the drawer, pause for a moment. Ask yourself, is this really how it was meant to be? Chances are, the answer lies not in a science lab, but in the stories we grew up with, in the kitchens we learned in, and in the quiet wisdom of those who came before us. Let's rediscover that wisdom together. Honey, the timeless treasure that doesn't need cold. Let's talk about honey, not just as a sweetener, but as something ancient, almost eternal. Did you know that archaeologists have discovered pots of honey in Egyptian tombs, thousands of years old, that are still perfectly edible? That's not magic. It's science wrapped in golden simplicity. Honey is naturally low in moisture and high in acidity, which makes it nearly impossible for bacteria to grow inside. It doesn't spoil. It doesn't rot. Left alone, it could last centuries. But what happens when we put it in the fridge? Cold temperatures cause honey to crystallize faster. You've probably seen this. It turns thick, grainy, sometimes even solid. Now, before you panic, know this: it's still safe to eat, still delicious, still healing, but it becomes harder to spread on toast or drizzle into tea. And more importantly, its delicate flavor, the floral notes, the subtle hints of lavender or orange blossom, begin to fade. But here's the real kicker. Refrigerating honey adds unnecessary moisture. If the jar isn't sealed tightly, condensation can form. That tiny drop of water might seem harmless, but in the world of honey, it's enough to trigger fermentation. Not always dangerous, but definitely not ideal. So where does honey belong? In your cupboard, on your counter, somewhere cool, dry, and away from direct sunlight. Keep it in a tightly sealed glass jar. Let it age gracefully. And if it does crystallize, as all good honey eventually does, just place the jar in warm water and gently stir until it returns to liquid gold. Honey has been with us through seasons, generations, and lifetimes. Treat it like the treasure it is. Olive oil, liquid gold that should never be chilled. Now let's turn to olive oil, the heart of Mediterranean kitchens, the soul of Sunday meals, and one of the most misunderstood ingredients in modern homes. You might think putting olive oil in the fridge keeps it fresh longer. After all, cold means slow decay, right? But in this case, instinct leads us astray. When olive oil gets too cold, especially extra virgin olive oil, it starts to solidify. Cloudy, thick, sometimes waxy white lumps appear. It looks spoiled, but it's not. It's just unhappy. And when it warms back up, the texture changes. The flavor dulls. Repeated exposure to cold damages its natural aroma and taste. That smooth, peppery finish that tells you it's the real thing? Gone. Even worse, condensation can form inside the bottle. Just a little bit of moisture, enough to feed bacteria, enough to shorten shelf life without you even realizing it. The real enemies of olive oil aren't heat alone. They're light, air, and time. So while the fridge protects it from heat, it doesn't protect it from light every time you open the door, nor from the invisible damage caused by repeated temperature shifts. So where should olive oil live? A pantry, a cabinet, a cool, dark space away from the stove. Store it in a dark glass bottle or stainless steel container to protect it from light. Seal it tightly to keep oxygen out. And use it often. It's meant to be poured, tasted, shared. Because olive oil isn't just food. It's culture. It's memory. It's the scent of bread dipped in oil at your grandmother's table. It's the warmth of soup stirred slowly on a winter morning. It's medicine, ritual, and comfort all in one. A return to simple wisdom. As I walk you through these 10 foods, I hope you're starting to see a pattern, not just of science, but of story. Each item on this list carries with it a history far older than our refrigerators. These are foods that once thrived without electricity, without plastic wrap, without timers and sensors. They survived because people knew how to care for them. They were stored in baskets, hung in cellars, wrapped in cloth, kept in clay jars. Food was respected, treated like family. Today, we live in a world of convenience. We trust machines to do what nature once did. We chill things because we think it preserves them, but sometimes we end up preserving only their shape, not their soul. And maybe that's what matters most as we get older. Not just how long our food lasts, but how deeply it nourishes us. How it tastes, how it feels, how it reminds us of who we are and where we come from. Because food is more than fuel. It's connection, it's identity, it's love passed down through recipes scribbled on napkins and whispered over kitchen counters. Why this matters more as we age. Let me speak plainly. As we grow older, our bodies change. Our senses become more sensitive. We start noticing the difference between real flavor and artificial imitation. We begin to feel the impact of what we eat, not just in digestion, but in energy, mood, and clarity. That's why preserving nutrients becomes essential. That's why taste matters more than ever. That's why storing food correctly isn't just about avoiding waste. It's about honoring ourselves. Think about it. Would you store a photo album in a damp basement? Would you leave a favorite book in the sun where the pages fade? Probably not. Then why treat the food that fuels your body any differently? Every choice we make, from how we store tomatoes to how we treat garlic, is a reflection of how much we value ourselves. It's not vanity. It's self-respect. It's saying, I matter. My health matters. My comfort matters. And in a world that often rushes past the small things, taking the time to care for our food is one of the kindest things we can do. For ourselves, for our families, and for the memories we carry forward. Living with intention, eating with care. This isn't just a list of storage tips. It's an invitation to slow down, to notice, to reconnect with the rhythm of the kitchen and the wisdom of those who came before us. Maybe you grew up watching your mother hang bananas instead of hiding them in the fridge. Maybe your father never refrigerated his bread. Maybe your grandmother always kept her onions in a basket by the window. Those weren't random habits. They were rituals. Small acts of care that added up to a lifetime of flavor, nutrition, and joy. And now, it's our turn to pass on what we've learned. To teach our children and grandchildren that food isn't just something we buy. It's something we nurture. That how we store it affects how it feeds us. It's not about being perfect. It's about being mindful. About making choices that support not just survival, but living well. Because aging isn't about slowing down, it's about deepening. It's about savoring. It's about finding richness in the everyday moments. Whether it's a spoonful of honey in your tea or the smell of garlic sizzling in olive oil. And if we take better care of our food, it will take better care of us. Practical storage solutions. How to keep your food fresher without the fridge. So now that we've explored why certain foods don't belong in the refrigerator, let's talk about what to do instead. Because knowledge is only half the battle. Action is where real change happens. And when it comes to food storage, small shifts can make a big difference in flavor, nutrition, and even your monthly grocery bill. Let's break down each of the 10 foods one by one and look at practical, easy-to-implement solutions for keeping them fresh, flavorful, and full of life, all without turning on the fridge. Potatoes, let them breathe, not chill. Potatoes are like old friends. They're reliable, comforting, and best left in the right environment. Refrigeration speeds up starch-to-sugar conversion, changes texture, and can even lead to the formation of acrylamide, a compound linked to cancer in some studies. Though not something to panic over, it's still worth avoiding unnecessary exposure. Smart storage tip. Store potatoes in a cool, dark, dry place like a pantry or cellar. Use a paper bag, mesh sack, or wooden crate to allow airflow. Never store them in plastic bags. They trap moisture and encourage mold. And keep them away from onions. Onions release ethylene gas that causes potatoes to sprout faster. Pro hack. If you live in a humid climate, place a few crumpled newspaper sheets in the bottom of your potato basket to absorb excess moisture. Tomatoes, let them ripen naturally. Tomatoes are delicate fruits with a short but glorious peak season. Once picked, they continue to ripen thanks to ethylene, a natural plant hormone. Cold air halts this process, locking in blandness and dulling their vibrant red color. Smart storage tip. Keep tomatoes at room temperature, ideally around 65 to 70 degrees Fahrenheit, 18 to 21 degrees Celsius. Place them stem side down to slow moisture loss and prevent bruising. Only refrigerate fully ripe tomatoes if you can't eat them within 2 days. and even then, bring them back to room temperature before eating to restore flavor. Pro hack: want to extend shelf life without losing taste? Try making a batch of roasted tomato sauce and freeze it in small portions. It's a delicious way to preserve summer's bounty. Onions: airflow over cold. Onions may seem tough on the outside, but inside they're packed with sugars and sulfur compounds that react badly to cold and moisture. Fridge storage softens their texture, makes them sweet, and encourages mold growth. Worse yet, their strong aroma can seep into other foods, turning your yogurt onion-flavored and your berries oddly garlicky. Smart storage tip: store whole onions in a well-ventilated space like a wire basket, mesh bag, or open paper bag. Avoid plastic containers. Keep them away from potatoes. They're enemies in storage, though great friends in cooking. Pro hack: if you've cut an onion, wrap the unused portion tightly in plastic wrap or store it in an airtight container in the fridge for up to 7 to 10 days. Garlic: dry and breathable. Garlic is a kitchen warrior. It fights infections, boosts flavor, and adds depth to almost every savory dish. But put it in the fridge, and you'll soon find green shoots sprouting from the cloves. These sprouts aren't dangerous, but they are bitter and alter the garlic's flavor. Plus, the fridge's humidity can cause garlic to mold or become soft, robbing it of its bold punch. Smart storage tip: keep whole garlic bulbs in a dry, well-ventilated container like a mesh bag or open basket. Avoid sealed containers. Once you peel or chop garlic, store it in the fridge, but only for a few days. For longer storage, consider preserving it in oil, refrigerated and used within a week, or freezing minced garlic in ice cube trays. Pro hack: if you grow your own garlic or buy in bulk, braid the stems together and hang them in a cool, dry area. It's functional, beautiful, and reminiscent of old European kitchens. Avocados: timing is everything. Avocados are finicky. They won't ripen on the tree. Instead, they begin to ripen after harvest, triggered by ethylene gas. Putting them in the fridge too early halts this process, leaving you with a rock-hard fruit that never reaches creamy perfection. Smart storage tip: leave unripe avocados at room temperature until they soften. To speed things up, place them in a paper bag with a banana or apple. These fruits naturally release ethylene, which helps avocados ripen faster. Once ripe, you can refrigerate them for 1 to 2 days. Cut avocados should be brushed with lemon juice, covered tightly, and eaten quickly. Pro hack: if you love guacamole, make a large batch and freeze it in single-serving portions. Add lime juice before freezing to preserve color and flavor. Bananas: let them ripen naturally. Bananas are tropical fruits. They thrive in warmth. The fridge turns their skin black and halts ripening, often leaving the inside starchy and underdeveloped. Cold-damaged bananas lose flavor and sweetness, and while they're safe to eat, they just don't taste the same. Smart storage tip: keep bananas at room temperature, ideally hanging from a banana hook or placed away from other fruits. If they're getting too ripe, freeze them peeled and sliced for smoothies, baking, or making banana ice cream. Pro hack: rub a bit of honey or lemon juice on the stem into slow ripening. Wrap the top in foil to extend freshness even more. Melons: whole at room temperature, cut in the fridge. Whole melons, like watermelon, cantaloupe, and honeydew, continue to ripen after harvest. Refrigerating them too soon stops this process, reducing both sweetness and nutritional value. Smart storage tip: let whole melons sit at room temperature until they're fully ripe. Cantaloupes will develop a fragrant aroma and slip easily from the vine. Honeydews darken slightly and feel heavy for their size. Watermelons sound hollow when tapped. Once cut, cover tightly and refrigerate for 3 to 4 days. Pro hack: freeze cubed melon for a refreshing, healthy treat. Simply wash, cut, and store in a freezer-safe bag. They're perfect for smoothies or snacking straight from the freezer. Bread: fresh in a bag, frozen for long life. Contrary to popular belief, bread goes stale faster in the fridge than at room temperature. This is due to a process called starch retrogradation, where moisture moves out of the starch granules, causing bread to harden. Smart storage tip: store bread in a cool, dry place like a bread box or pantry. Use a paper bag or loosely closed plastic bag to maintain texture. If you want to keep it longer than a few days, freeze it. Slice it first so you can take out just what you need. Pro hack: toast frozen bread slices directly in the toaster. No thawing needed. Honey: Cool, dark, and airtight. Honey doesn't spoil, but it does crystallize. Cold temperatures speed up this process, making it thick and grainy. While still edible, it becomes harder to use and less appealing. Smart storage tip: store honey in a tightly sealed glass jar in a cool, dark cabinet. Avoid metal containers. They can react with the acidity in honey. If it crystallizes, gently warm the jar in a bowl of hot water. Pro hack: choose raw, local honey whenever possible. It retains more nutrients and has a richer flavor profile. Olive oil, away from light and heat. Olive oil is sensitive to heat, light, and oxygen. Storing it in the fridge causes it to thicken and cloud, altering texture and flavor. Repeated temperature changes can also encourage condensation inside the bottle, leading to rancidity. Smart storage tip: keep olive oil in a dark glass bottle or stainless steel container, stored in a cool, dark cupboard away from the stove. Seal tightly to reduce oxidation. Pro hack: buy in smaller bottles if you don't use much. Olive oil has a shelf life of about 12 to 18 months, depending on quality and storage conditions. Why this matters more than you think. When I think about how we store food, I'm reminded of how we store memories. Some things get better with age, others need the right environment to stay true to themselves. And as we grow older, we start to notice those details more. We care about how our food tastes, how it makes us feel, and how it connects us to who we are. It's not just about health, it's about joy, about savoring the flavors that remind us of home, about honoring the traditions passed down through generations. Because food isn't just fuel, it's ritual, it's comfort, it's identity. And when we store it with care, we nourish not just our bodies, but our hearts.